I want to show you something very interesting. Okay, so I just made this new project and I have, I just have a button. Okay, so I just literally just made a button inside of starter GUI. My player is going to spawn in, going to see the button. And then what if inside a script, I wanted to make it so that whenever my player, I don't know, does something. Okay, let's say just for example, whenever my player presses spacebar, I want this button to disappear. How would you do that? Well, what you might do is you might say, okay, well then whenever the player presses spacebar, what I'm going to do is I'll say game.starter.gui, screen GUI, and then yeah, text button, and then you would disable it. You would make it not visible. And yet it's still here. And now you might be, crying, shaking, tweaking out, maybe all three at the same time, who knows. What is going on? Why isn't this going invisible? The reason it's not going invisible is because what we're seeing, the GUI that my player is seeing, isn't the GUI inside of here. It's the GUI inside of the player's player GUI. By default, you have a thing called FreeCam. So the screen GUI, which is the thing I've made, if I disable this button, then it should work. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so making this invisible will work. I want to actually show you and help you understand the difference between starter GUI and player GUI, just because it's an issue I keep seeing a lot. Okay, because honestly, I keep seeing people be like, why is my script not working? And then I see like game.starter.gui and I'm like, I know why, bro. I know why. Let me tell you. The very basic idea, the very basic premise is that whenever, the server starts, when a new player joins the game, any GUI that's inside the starter GUI gets cloned over inside that player's player GUI. So I know I just stopped the game, which I don't know why I did, but if I run the game right now, as you can see, right, the player who joined, yeah, sure, they have the default Roblox UI, as I said before, but they have the GUI that's inside the starter GUI. And I'd like you to think about something for a second. If, let's say, the game had 10 players, like right now, if let's say that we had 10 players, right? Would it logically make sense to disable the GUI in starter GUI? Because wouldn't that disable it for everyone? Right? Like, how does the game determine, the GUI of each player? Obviously, the GUI for every player is unique to that player. If I have a button, right, that I say, okay, I press the button, and then I want like an inventory menu to pop up. Do I want to open a button and have everyone's inventory pop up? Like, I could do that. So that is something I could script if I wanted to make it so that only the player who presses the button sees the menu. Well, yes, I could, because the GUI is unique to every single player. So then obviously, when you want to change a player's unique GUI, you're not gonna do it in here. You're gonna do it for the player, right? Because that's Roblox's way of actually separating each GUI, per player. So let me show you an example inside of scripts, okay? So I'll add a script over here, local script, and then I'll just say game.starter GUI screen GUI let's say .enabled equals false, okay? So I'm gonna disable the screen GUI, which is just gonna make the button invisible. So if I play the game right now, let's actually see what's gonna happen. Well, no, nothing happens. So it is disabled, but not for the player, because what happened was that the screen GUI copied everything over, and only then did it start applying the changes. If I were to somehow apply the change of it being disabled, and then a new player would join. So for example, let's say my player joined right now, right? And then, the screen GUI was enabled, so that's what I got. I got an enabled screen GUI. And then this script disabled it, okay? If another player were to join the game right now and the screen GUI is now disabled, they would get this disabled copy. So if a new player joins, after I've changed the starter GUI, they would get that new copy of the GUI. So they wouldn't see a button. So that's kind of how it works, okay? So you are able to mid-game change the GUI inside of starter GUI so that whenever a new player joins, they get that new version. Now, I don't know why you would want to do that. Powers to you, okay? if you want to, sure, then go ahead. Now, obviously what we want to do, if we want to change the GUI, we need to change the GUI inside the player. There are two ways of doing this, okay? So I'll show you the kind of dumb way, and then I'll show you the very Chad smart way, okay, that I use. Instead of doing game.starter.gui, you can just do game.players.localplayer.player.gui. Oh wait, my bad. Player GUI, right? Yeah, so basically player GUI and starter GUI are very similar. So once you have the player GUI, then you can just, do your normal things. And then you can do .screen GUI, .enabled, whatever, blah, blah, blah. As you can see, I got the local player, which you can only do inside of a local script. So in a server script, I cannot tell what player is currently playing the game. There we go, disable it, right? So we don't see the button anymore. The second way of doing this, which is I would say the easiest one, is to just attach a script onto the button and then just say script.parent, which actually I guess in this case script.parent is the button. So what I should do is I should say script.parent, which is a button, .visible equals false. The way this works now is that even though, this is still inside of starter GUI, when it gets cloned over to another player, the script gets cloned over as well, right? And so then when the script runs, it's just looking for its parent, which is going to be the button inside of player GUI. So let me show you what I mean. So if I run the game right now, there we go, right? The button is gone. Because when the GUI was cloned over, the script came with it. So then when the GUI gets cloned, that's when the local script begins running. And then when the local script runs, it's like, okay, I'll just set my parent's visibility to false, right? And its parent is the text button that's inside the player GUI. So this script changes the GUI that's inside of the player GUI, which is why we see the effect. So if you're a beginner, scripter, I highly recommend you when dealing with GUI to use parent as much as possible, okay? And yeah, I mean, if you found this very helpful, very chat information, I understand. Do check out the description. I have my amazing courses there for like $14, I think. And yeah, we are back to basics. Thank you for watching.